What's up YouTube, it's Jackal Music Kick. So in this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Eminem. Now I already did a video like this on an old channel of mine, JackalGoldKick, but I'm going to remake it, do a new one for this music only channel. So here we go again. So when it comes to Eminem, my thoughts on Eminem is I am a fan of the rapper. I think he's a really good rapper. I think he's one of the best rappers of all time, and I think he has a lot of talent. I had his music played around me growing up in the 2000s. Eminem's music was like played around me, you know, the Marshall Mathers LP, the D12 album. So his music was played around me growing up. I even remember listening to Relapse when it came out, hearing Crack a Bottle on the radio. I remember buying Recovery in 2010. I also have memories of like, I used to burn CDs to my Xbox. So I remember like I burnt the Recovery CD to Xbox 360. And I think at the time, one of the games that was out was Borderlands. So I would play Borderlands and listen to Recovery, or I would even play Resident Evil 4 and listen to Recovery. So yeah, I am a fan of Eminem. I think he's really good. I'm not a huge fan of his newer music, but a lot of his other music, for the most part, I do like. When it comes to his albums, I like the Slim Shady EP. I think that's a good album. It has some good songs on it, like No One's Iller Than Me, Murder Murder. What was it called? Low Down and Dirty. That's a good song. I think that's what it's called. Where he says, if you hear a man that sounds like you smack him, where'd he get his raps from? That song. That's a good one. The one before it, Infinite, I wasn't really a fan of the Infinite album. I'm just not a fan of boom bap rap, and that's kind of what he was going for. The only song I like on there is the self-titled Infinite track. And then the Slim Shady LP, that's a good album. That's probably my favorite one because I listened to it the most. And I really like that album. It's got some good songs on it, like I'm Shady. That's one of my favorites off there. You know, Rock Bottom, relatable song. What is it? Role Model, that's another good song as well. Bad Meets Evil, Royce da 5'9". That's another good song as well. Brain Damage, that's a good song. As the World Turns, that's a really good song. A lot of good songs in there. It's a good album. I remember listening to that album a lot on like a CD player, or it was like I used to have a CD player. I used to have like an iPod, and it was like one of those devices I'd listen to it on. And I also remember, you know, having it burnt on my 360 as a CD, and I used to listen to like Slim Shady LP while playing Oblivion. So some nice memories in there with Slim Shady LP. I haven't heard the album in full in a while, but the Marshall Mathers LP, I think that's another good album too. It's got a lot of good songs on it, like, you know, The Way I Am, Kim, The Kids, which I think is a very underrated Eminem song. You have, you know, Kill You. You have, I think I already said The Way I Am. You have I'm Back. That's a good song. You have Remember Me. That was played a lot around me growing up. That's a really good song as well. A lot of dope songs on there. The Eminem Show, that's another good album. Got a lot of great songs on there, like Till I Collapse. You have I Like Drips. I know a lot of people don't like that song. Some other songs I like off of there is Square Dance is a good one. Like my favorite off that album though is My Dad's Gone Crazy. That's a great track. Good rapping, great chorus, and just a really cool song. So Eminem Show's dope. It's got some good songs on it. Encore, I'm mixed on that album. It's got some really good songs like Never Enough, We As Americans, Ricky Tikki Tok, Love You More. What else? The Encore, ending with 50 and Dr. Dre. And then Evil Deeds, it's a really good song. I like that one as well. With some other songs I like off that project. I don't mind Ass Like That and Big Weenie because they're kind of goofy and silly songs, but there's some songs in there that I'm not big on. Like, I'm not a big fan of Yellow Brick Road. I get why he made it because of the whole Foolish Pride thing and what he had to, you know, address. But I'm not a fan of that song. I dislike the beat a lot. I never could get into Crazy in Love, and my first single, I kind of like his rapping and flow, but not the biggest fan of the beat. So Encore, 50-50, some good, some bad. And then after that, you had the Re-Up, which I remember not minding that project. I ain't heard it in a long time, but it's got some good songs on it. No Apologies, Public Enemy #1. One of the songs Cassius did, I think it's Everything is Shady, or it's one of them that was pretty good. The song Murder is pretty good. Of course, the best song on there is You Don't Know. That's a smashing, like, club hit type track. Tons of great rappers on there, and Eminem, and that's a really good song. Fucking awesome song. So that album had some good stuff on it. Public Enemy #1, if I already said that. Some of the beats on there are cool, like Shady Narcotics intro, even though it's just the intro, it has a really cool beat on it. I wish Eminem would have rapped on it or had more beats like it. I like the beat on We're Back. I like Eminem's verse on that song and just how he sounds, really cool. So yeah, aside from that, yeah, some other good songs, in '05, like Detroit, Welcome to Detroit City with Trick Trick. That's a fucking dope song. It's got a great chorus, and that's a solid track as well. And then after Re-Up, you have Relapse, which a lot of people don't like Relapse because of the accent, but I personally like Relapse. I think Relapse is a really good album. It's one of my favorite Eminem albums because I love how dark it is and how horrorcore the album is, and the production is just amazing. It still stands out, and especially in mainstream hip-hop, it's like it stands out on its own. Dr. Dre did a great job producing that album. It's got tons of great songs like 3 AM, We Made You. I'm going to include Relapse Refill as well. I should have said that instead. Taking My Ball, Music Box, Buffalo Bill, the Must Be the Ganja song, Beautiful. That's an amazing, relatable track. Medicine Ball, if I didn't already say that. Hello, same song, and Dance. Just a ton of great songs on there. I love Relapse Refill. And the accents I thought were cool because it was a way for him to bend rhymes and shit. And I really liked Relapse Refill. He was supposed to do a sequel to it, but he canceled it. Probably because the reception Relapse guy decided to do Recovery instead. Which I'll get to Recovery next, but I really wish he would have did Relapse too, because I do like Relapse more than Recovery. And I think Relapse was a good direction for Eminem personally. So I really like that album. Then the next album, Recovery, I'm kind of 50-50 on the album. I like some songs on it, and then there's some songs I don't like. I just think the production takes a bit of a step down compared to Relapse. Like, it's got some good songs like Cold Wind Blows, Talking to Myself, On Fire, Seduction, Cinderella Man, that's a good one. And Spacebound is a good one. 25 to Life. And then not Session 1, Ride is good. That's a bonus track. Great Dr. Dre beat. And then I like the Untitled track. But then there's some songs in there I don't care for. Like, I'm not a big fan of Won't Back Down with Pink. I don't know about that one. No Love's a good one. Love the Way You Lie. I haven't heard it in a while, but I don't know. It's just one of those songs I've never cared for by Eminem. But yeah, I like, some of that album, dislike some of it. I don't like Almost Famous. It's probably one of my least favorite Eminem songs. I just think the beat is very ugly on it, and I'm not a fan of the chorus. Just, I don't know. One of the songs that was meant to be on there was Fly Away. That was a decent song. I would have maybe put that on there instead of Almost Famous. And after that, you had Hell the Sequel with Royce da 5'9", the Bad Meets Evil group that he did. And I thought that was a really good album. Really solid album. Great songs on there like Fast Lane, Echo, I'm on Everything, Above the Law, Living Proof. That album is dope. The songs in there are dope. Royce and him had great chemistry. I really like that project as well. And after that, you had some good stuff in 2012 from him, some good features. He had a great verse on 50 Cent's song, My Life. I'm not a fan of the song, but I like his verse on Come On Let Me Ride. It's pretty good. And then 2013, he had the Symphony and H remix. That was pretty good. Marshall Mathers LP2. When that album first came out, I was like so-so with it. But nowadays, I'm not really a big fan of Marshall Mathers LP2. Because the thing with Marshall Mathers LP2... But yeah, when it comes to Marshall Mathers LP2, the problem with that album is... It's a sequel to Marshall Mathers LP1, which is a really good album. And I feel like it's not a good album sequel because it doesn't have like a lot of the similar beats to the first one, and just a lot of the production and sampling choices for it isn't really that great. He teamed up with Rick Rubin, and I just don't care for a lot of the approaches, like Rhyme or Reason, So Far, Love Game. Is that what it's called? Am I getting it mixed up with Lady Gaga? Whatever that song is with him and Kendrick. And then, like, you know, just a lot of the songs on there went for that sampling, like some old song and rapping over it. I just didn't care for that. Some of the other songs in there were pretty weak. Like, I don't really care for Rap God. I think the beat could have been better. I think for a song like Rap God, you know, being like the best rapper, could have been better. I always thought GOAT was a much better Rap God. We got that before Rap God, even though it was leaked. I think that's better. Rap God, not a big fan of. I like Berserk. I like Survival. I think he has really good rapping on Survival and cool, like, cadence. Bad Guy's cool. It's a cool sequel to Stan, but I don't know. That album's pretty subpar, to be honest. It has a few good songs, but I feel like it was the start of the downfall of his music for me. Because after that, you had Guts Over Fear, which I liked. He had the Southpaw soundtrack, I think, or that was for Equalizer. And then you had, you know, the Southpaw soundtrack, and I didn't really like a lot of his songs on there. I didn't care for Kings Never Die. I didn't care for, what else did he do on there? Can't remember, but yeah, I didn't hear that entire project, but I did like the song Beast on there. Eminem was supposed to be on it, but he didn't show up, which is a shame. And after that, I skipped over this. Shady XV in 2014. Wasn't really a big fan of Shady XV, just was forgettable. Wasn't a fan of it. Didn't really like any of the songs like Fine Line or Right For Me or Psychopath Killer. Well, I like Psychopath Killer, but I don't like Eminem's verse. Because with Shady XV, I wasn't a big, like, my problem with that album with this Eminem song specifically is I just wasn't a big fan of how Eminem was rapping. He was, like, kind of offbeat, but I don't know if it's entirely his fault, to be fair, because I heard in an interview that around, like, 2014, Eminem was developing really bad tinnitus, which is like this constant ringing in your ears, and he said it was getting so loud where he could hear it more than the beat, and he had to rap a certain way. So maybe it isn't so much his fault, but I didn't like kind of the way he was rapping on some of Shady XV. Just kind of felt offbeat. But I liked Bane. I like Psychopath Killer minus Eminem's verse. Yeah, I remember Yellow Wolf had a good song on there, and then the rest had like greatest hits. So he did a release of the original version of Lose Yourself. So that's interesting to hear what that sounds like. The demo, I mean. And then a few years after that, you had Revival, which I'm not a fan of that album. I know Eminem felt strongly about liking that album and, you know, really being against the hate for it, but I just don't think Revival's a good album. It's just as an album, it's not executed well. You know, it's got bad choruses, bad features, really bad beats, and just not good songs. Like, Walk on Water is just a boring track with him and Beyonce. It's boring. It's just like a spoken word poetry type track. Believe, I didn't care for it. It was forgettable. Chloroseptic was just, The remix is a little bit better. What was another song you had on there? You had, I guess I didn't mind Remind Me, the sample of the Joan Jett song. That was decent, I suppose. What is it called? Untouchable, where he talks about like the blacks and whites like race thing and, you know, abuse of cops and stuff. It's an important subject matter to talk about, but execution wise, it just sucked as a song. Oh, I hated that song. The Cheech and Chong sample, the way Eminem was singing it, that song just didn't work. The second half was not too bad when he switched it up, but it just didn't work. And it was cringe when he said that I'm embarrassed to be white sometimes in the song. It's just like, dude, you can't, like, it's cool you want to speak on these issues, but you can't outcast yourself like that. It was cringe, man. What's some other songs you had in there? You had, like, I'm trying to remember. I ain't heard the album in a long time, but I wasn't a fan of it. I liked Framed. I liked A Rose. I liked Cast. I liked In Your Head. Those are some good songs, but for the most part, I didn't care for Revival. Oh, yeah, Bad Husband. I like that it's about his wife, Kim, wanting to make amends, but execution wise, it's just not a good song. And it just felt like Revival wasn't executed well. You know, it just wasn't. This wasn't a good album. Like Home, I didn't care for that. Need Me, I didn't care for that. I like that he had some recovery leftovers like Tragic Endings and Castle, but wasn't a fan of Revival. And then after that, you had Kamikaze, and I remember kind of not minding it when it first came out. I liked the self-titled track Kamikaze with the weird beat, but and then Stepping Stone had a decent beat. But to be honest, like now I don't really care for Kamikaze because it's just kind of this like trap beat type album, and his response to Revival hate, and that was a forgettable album, surprise album drop. It's just I didn't care for Kamikaze. Just wasn't really a fan of it. Eminem going for that trap style. And then after that, you had Music to Be Murdered By, which I'm not a fan of Music to Be Murdered By at all. It's just not a good album. You know, I don't like any song off that album. I don't care for the beats. I don't care for Eminem's rap style or the songs on there. I just feel like it's just not a good album, you know, and it just felt forced. It didn't feel like Eminem was really passionate or was all in with those songs. It just didn't feel natural or organic. You know, You Gon' Learn, Godzilla, Stepdad with that bad hook. Just a lot of the songs in there weren't really any good. I can't remember all of them because I don't really care to remember the album. I wasn't a fan of it. I didn't like any song off it. And then Music to Be Murdered By, Side B. Didn't like that either. That was like kind of a sequel to the first one. Didn't care for the songs on there. Didn't care for the way Eminem was approaching it. Didn't even care for the single Nat. Just wasn't a fan of that project either. I think I would say Music to Be Murdered By and Music to Be Murdered By Side B. I think that's Eminem's worst work and his worst projects, in my opinion. Some people say Revival or Encore. I think that Music to Be Murdered By and then the Side B, I think that's Eminem's worst work and his worst projects because I don't like a single song off there, and they're just so forgettable as albums. And then the most recent thing he did has been like the Curtain Call 2, which I had some interesting stuff on it. You know, I like the re-release or the release of the unreleased Relapse 2 song, Is This Love, from '09 with him and 50 Cent. I wasn't too big on that song at first because I do wish Eminem would have kept his accent verses instead of doing new ones, but I got used to it, and I like the Dr. Dre beat, and I like the chorus, and that's a pretty good song. I'll take that over his other recent stuff. I didn't care for The King and I, the song for the Elvis soundtrack, and then the song he did with Snoop Dogg, I thought just sucked. It wasn't good in my opinion. All this time they finally squash beef, and they're cool, and they team up for the second time besides Bitch Please 2, and the song just isn't good. I don't care for the beat. I didn't care for the rapping. The song just had it felt like it had nothing to it. You know, I just didn't get anything from it as a song. I didn't really care for the Snoop Dogg and Eminem song. I just thought it was disappointing. Then the rest was like Greatest Hits, which I didn't even listen to that whole album, because the thing with Greatest Hits, it's like, I've already heard these tracks. I forgot to talk about the first Curtain Call, actually. Curtain Call 1, that's a pretty good Greatest Hits album because it's got a lot of his best songs. It's got new tracks. You got Fact, which is a ridiculous song, but I do like that one. It's just over the top. When I'm Gone is a great song. I like that one a lot. One of his best. Music video is great. Such a relatable track. Such a really good song. I really like When I'm Gone. And then, what was the other new song you had on there? It was When I'm Gone, Fact, and oh yeah, Shake That. I don't remember listening to that song too much, but I remember not minding. I just haven't heard it enough. But, you know, you had Dead Wrong in there and stuff like that. But Curtain Call 2, you know, I wish he would have did more unreleased stuff on there, but yeah. But I didn't listen to that entire project. It had cool cover art. After that, he hadn't done anything recently. I mean, he's done some songs with people and like features here and there, and like stuff like that. So, and then, you know, his work on 50 Cent's first album, Patiently Waiting, and Don't Push Me, that was good stuff. You know, some of the various stuff he did with collaborations is great. So that's what I think of his albums. You know, some of my favorite songs by Eminem, ones I really like the most from him would be Buffalo Bill. Love that one. Really good horrorcore song from him. Music Box, another good horrorcore song. I love the beat on there. Taking My Ball is another favorite. Love the chorus, like the rapping and the horrorcore type beat. Well, it's not a horrorcore beat, my bad, but it's a really good song. My Dad's Gone Crazy, that's another one of my favorites. Love that track. Evil Deeds is another one of my favorites. Like that one as well. I'm Shady is another one of my favorites. Really like that one as well. Seduction is another one of my favorites. Really dig that one as well. And then what's some other ones I really like by him? Let me think. You know, Role Model, that's another good one, another favorite. Really like that track as well. Rock Bottom, that's another favorite. Relatable song by Eminem. Hello is another one of my favorites. I like that one a lot. I kind of like how, like, I don't know if anyone ever noticed this, but on that song, it just feels like Eminem doesn't sound like himself. Like, he has a different type of voice, you know, and that's something I always notice. That's another one of my favorites. What's another one? I know I'm forgetting one. My Darling. That's a fucking great song. Another one of my favorites. I love the concept of addiction and, you know, him talking to himself and, like, commenting on Paul Wall and Bubba Sparks. That's a really good song. Careful What You Wish For is another one of my favorites as well. Really like that track. He's got a ton of songs. It would take me forever to name song after song, but those are just some of the favorites and ones I really like. Going Through Changes, that's another good one. Relatable track. And then, you know, I think he has some interesting unreleased stuff. I love unreleased Eminem, like, stuff. You know, the stuff that got leaked is interesting. Like, you have fucking, you know, the stuff for King Mathers, like GOAT is really good. The Apple is really good because King Mathers was an album that was supposed to come out in 06 or 07, but he scrapped it and did Relapse, supposedly. But Eminem never came out and talked about King Mathers, but that was the album that was supposed to come out. He's got some really interesting unreleased stuff. I like his verse that was almost meant for the Celebrity song. That's a good one. I like the leaked song, Hit Me With Your Best Shot with D12. That was meant for either Relapse 2 or Recovery. I like, what's some other unreleased stuff I like from him? Everything, that was a good track. I really like that one. I wish it was longer. I like Hip Hop and Cut Back, good rapping, and just an interesting time period for Eminem. So Hell Freezes Over, that's a good unreleased song. And that, like, that hiatus area he was on, the King Mathers era, from like 06, 7, and 8, where he wasn't really doing a lot besides re-up. I just find that to be an interesting era. I mean, Eminem was going through addiction, and his life was, he was at his, you know, worst life-wise, and it's good he got out of it. But the music he was making and what he was doing is just interesting because it's such a mysterious time period. And we got some leaks to see what it was like, at least. But it's an interesting time period because I wish all the music that was made would come out, you know, because it was such a dark time. He was, you know, heavy into his drug use, pills. He lost his friend Proof. He put on a lot more weight. And it would have just been interesting to get like an album or more music out of that really dark time. Because there's another one I wish we would have gotten. There was a song with T.I. and Eminem, I think about their alter egos or something. And then they're supposed to do a song called I Can Be Whatever You Want, the one with Helva and Eminem. I wish we could get the T.I. and Eminem version where they both have verses, because that beat's great. The hook is great. Helva ain't bad on it, but I would have preferred the Eminem and T.I. version. So the hiatus stuff is very interesting. So, yeah, you know, I could talk more and more about the rest of his music and everything else he did. I mean, he did like a expanded edition of the Eminem Show. I liked Jimmy Bryan and Mike. It was cool to get an unreleased Marshall Mathers LP song. That song grew on me. You know, I could go on and on and on, but it would take like probably an hour, 2 hours to cover every single song he did. But I think I've covered enough when it comes to Eminem and the music. So yeah, my overall thoughts on Eminem is I think he's a good rapper. I'm a fan of him, and I definitely think he's one of the best. Like a lot of his music, and he's definitely someone I like a lot, definitely one of my favorites. And I'm glad he came into hip-hop because he broke down the barrier for white rappers. And another reason, you know, I like Eminem and, you know, always appreciate what he did is, you know, a lot of people got influenced by him. And because of Eminem, we got so many other good rappers that are similar to him. Like you got Hobson, you got Tennis, you got Jake Beat, you got people similar to him, and it's cool because it's cool to have more of that style. So Eminem is a legend, and I do like him. You know, I may not be the biggest fan of his newer music, but I'll never take away that he's a legend, and he's definitely one of the best, and he did a lot for hip-hop. And he has a ton of great music. He's definitely one of my favorite rappers, and I think he's great. So, yeah, I like Eminem overall. Those are my thoughts on Eminem. Let me know what you think of Eminem if you've heard his music and stuff like that, which I'm sure you have. Who hasn't heard of Eminem or heard his music? So, that's all I got to say in this video. Peace.